Yeah, welcome back. So, uh, today now we will look into a very important concept of uh, reactive power compensation, which is used to improve the efficiency of transmission, or the purpose of which is to there are twofold purposes for it. One is reduce losses in transmission and distribution systems and improve voltage regulation. So in today's lecture, I'll focus on the first part more, which is reduction in the transmission losses in the transmission and distribution system. And qualitatively, I will explain to you the other part. All right. So let us think of a simple system like this. I have a load which is of the value R plus j omega L, usually like induction machine loads, or most of the loads that we come across are basically inductive in nature. So they can be represented by a resistance and a series combination of uh, inductance, and it is connected to a voltage phasor. Since there is only one voltage phasor, I have taken it as a reference phasor, so I have written it as angle 0. This V here indicates that it is the RMS value of the voltage, and omega is our 2 pi into 50 hertz, or 2 pi into 60 hertz if you are in North America, for example, and R is the resistance of the wire. So first thing that I want to show you is that this circuit can instead be equivalenced by also a parallel RL circuit. So it's not like it should always be shown as a series RL circuit. It can equivalently be shown as a parallel RL circuit. So let's see. So first thing is that the current is V divided by R plus j omega L. Why? Because R plus j omega L is the impedance of the circuit, which if I multiply here by the Z star, so Z is R plus j omega L, and so the complex conjugate of it will be Z star will be R minus of j omega L, and if I multiply and divide the numerator and denominator by this complex conjugate, then what will I get? I'll get on the numerator R minus j omega L, and in the denominator the square of the magnitude of impedance, which is R square plus omega square L square, which further I can expand and write it as R divided by Z square times of V minus j omega L divided by magnitude of the impedance square, that is R square plus omega square L square times of V. So this current, which in rectangular component I can write it as real part as the active power part as IA and reactive power part as IR. So IA plus JIR, I can write it as this part, I'll call it as shunt susceptance G, and conductance, shunt conductance G, and this part I'll call it as shunt susceptance B, and this can therefore be written as G minus JB, because this is a minus J sitting here, so I'm writing it as G minus JB times the voltage phasor which is common. So reference phasor which is common. So therefore, IA will become the active current component part will become G times of V, and where the G is going to be R divided by R square plus omega square L square, which is shown here, and the reactive part is minus B times of V, substituting for B omega L divided by mod of Z square and minus B times of V. So this becomes our the reactive power component of it. Now, same thing we can express as a parallel circuit. Let's see what happens in the parallel circuit. So I have in the parallel combination I am writing it as R dash and j omega L dash. So the net reciprocal of the net impedance 1 by Z is going to be equal to 1 by R dash plus 1 by j omega L dash, which can be, so 1 by j is minus of j, so 1 by R dash should be equal to 1 by R dash should be equal to this G, and this should be equal to the B. So therefore, what we come to the conclusion that R dash 1 by R dash is G, which means that R dash is 1 by G, and similarly B is 1 by omega L dash. So from there we get that R dash is equal to substituting for the G part here, it will become mod of Z square by R, or in other words R square plus omega square L square by R, and similarly omega L dash will become mod of Z square by omega L, in other words R square plus omega square L square by omega L. So this is important, you know, that usually we come across series RL circuits because modeling brings it in that particular way. Like transformer, we saw that there is a leakage reactance, and then there is uh, a resistance, and all of them carry same current. So therefore, we connect them as show them as depict them as series elements, but equivalently they also have a representation as parallel components. In fact, transformer equivalent circuit we did both. If you remember, the transformer magnetizing current, which consists of magnetizing current and the loss component current, we showed it through the parallel circuit, and the leakage reactance part we showed it, and the resistance we showed through the series circuit. And so actual equivalent circuits appropriately combine series and parallel elements of uh, RNC. So let's take one simple example here now. In this example, I have a 5 volt source connected to an impedance of 4 plus J3 ohms. So the resistance is of 4 ohms, and the impedance is of J3 ohms, and unless otherwise stated, usually my frequency is 50 hertz, but it's not required here. So the current phasor will be, I'm sorry, the current phasor will be V divided by Z, which will become 5 volt divided by 4 plus J3, which is 4 minus J3 divided by the impedance value, which is square root of 4 square plus 3 square, 16 plus 9 square root, which is 25 square root, which is 5. Okay. So the magnitude of current is how much? 5 volts divided by 5 ohms, which is basically 1 ampere. And the phase angle is going to be minus 3 divided by 4. So if you recall the triangle in general R X phi, this phi is going to be minus of tan inverse of x by r. So only thing is here the x here in this impedance triangle phi is positive. Current is the, which is because of the impedance comes in the denominator. You get this 3. This is 3. This is 4. So your phi becomes tan inverse of minus of 3 by 4. And since the current lags, the impedance comes in the denominator. So therefore, when this phi in the division in the polar coordinates, this goes up in the numerator, it becomes minus phi. So therefore, you get minus 36.86 as the lag which is created. So either I write it as minus 36.86 degrees, or I write it as 36.86 lag. So the current here I have a figure somewhere here. Yeah, the current here lags the uh, the current lags the voltage by 36.86 degrees, and if you can project it down, and this is my IA and this is my IR, and that's why IR is on the is negative because it's on the opposite side of the y-axis. Okay, so um, so the current will become how much? Cos of so 4 by 5 becomes the current, active current, which is 0.8, and the reactive component of the current, if you, because I am writing current as IA plus JIR, so therefore the current, this is minus of J3 by 5 or minus 0.6 amperes. This is the current which is uh, the reactive power component of the current. And all of these are just emphasizing to you again that we have now shifted to RMS value convention and will be in that all through the course. So all the magnitudes that are written are always the RMS values. Now, the power, average power is this voltage times the component IA which is in phase with it, while the quadrature component does not have any role in the average active power. So, therefore, the power becomes 5 into zero point 0.8, which is 4 watts. Same thing you get if you use the formula V cos phi, because I cos phi is nothing but the IA, which is 5 into current magnitude of 1 into cos phi, which is of 4 by 5, and therefore you get 4 watts. Now you look at the reactive component of the current. So the reactive component of the current is, I'll rather take it from here. The complex power is S is equal to VI star. So voltage is 5. This is a reference voltage. So therefore this should be written as 5 plus J0. So I just wrote 5 here. And the current is 0.8 minus J 0.6 star complex conjugate, which is 5 into 0.8 plus J 0.6. This minus J became plus here, which makes it 4 plus J3. So therefore the S is V into minus IR, which is 5 into IR was minus 5 by 3, minus 3 by 5. So minus IR is 3 by 5, which is 3 volt amperes. And we write in addition small r or capital R to show that it is reactive. So the power, average power is watts. This is reactive, so we show it as VA, and the complex power becomes 4 plus J3 volt amperes. So a positive reactive power means there is an inductive element which is consuming the reactive power. That's the way in English language we express it. And the apparent power, which is the P square plus Q square under root, is nothing but 5 volt ampere. So this is our present state of the this particular circuit. Now, let's say, let me bring out this concept of reactive power compensation through an example. The question is how much capacitive shunt reactive compensation. So underline capacitive, I am going to use, it is a capacitive, it is shunt or shunt capacitive also I could have written. It's a reactive power compensation, so there will not be any power consuming, average power consuming element there. So it is either L or C. But since our circuit is inductive, to compensate that particular part, I am going to use a capacitive compensation. Question is how much is it required to restore the power factor to unity. So restore means the backdrop is that traditionally we deal with resistive circuits. We That's what consumes power. So power factor lag is a power factor lag happens due to this. I won't use the word curse, but disadvantage that we always have to deal with inductive elements, non-ideal leakages, and so on and so forth, and therefore there is, it turns to be R plus j omega L circuit. which causes the power factor to go down from unity. Cos phi maximum value is 1. That's where we will like to see. Basically, suppose this is P equal to Vi cos phi. All right. Now, if let me use a blue pen itself. Okay, I think that's a good idea. Look at this. Suppose P is equal, P we know is Vi cos phi. Okay. Now assume that P is constant. Okay. And V is also constant. Okay. Then what do we get? We get that the current I is going to be equal to P by V cos phi, which can be written as a constant K divided by, this is of course magnitude of current, cos of phi. So what it means is that suppose cos phi is 1, okay, suppose cos phi is 1, at that time the value of current is going to be equal to K. Now suppose the current lags by 60 degrees. So then what will happen to cos phi? Cos phi will become 0.5. So what will happen to current? The current will become 2 times of k by 0.5 or 2 times of k. So now suppose the wire which is connecting, this is about the load part of it, but the wire which is connecting, let's say it has a load resistance of 1 ohm. So in that wire, approximately k square, because if you add the wire resistance, current also will change a bit, but usually the wire resistance and inductances will be small values and the load will have a larger value. So the we can approximately say that the current, the power which is lost in the wire will be k square times of 1 ohm or k square watts. But when the power factor deteriorates to 0.6, then I square R will now become, in the wire will become 4k square R, which means the loss has now become 4 times in the wire. So suppose in your house you use loads which are highly inductive, then what you are doing is causing a societal loss by creating significant amount of wattages in the distribution wires and the transmission wires. So this, who should pay for this? Actually you should pay for it, but is it metered? No, your meter is how much power you are using. That meter is sitting at the inside your house, at the doorstep of your house, at your doorstep, so it cannot measure what happened in the wire. But strictly speaking, you are the one who should be penalized for creating that loss, because if you had corrected this power factor to 1, and I am going to show you that method of correction. If you had corrected this power factor to 1, then the current would have been less in the wire, then the loss in the wire would have been less, and that would have been meant that the system would have, transmission and distribution system would have worked efficiently. So hence a shunt capacitive reactive power compensation is required, is mandatory, not exactly at the residential load level, but at the industrial load level, and at a higher level. This is always practiced to always keep on correcting the power factor so that the currents are more or less in phase with the current. For example, in IIT we are maybe having around 6 megawatts or 8 megawatts of a load. IIT Bombay will be drawing power from the utility at a 22 kV substation, and then it is supplying to all the departments, hostels, residential areas, commercial complex, and so on, labs and so on. So now, as far as our contract to the utility is concerned, if the power factor goes, let's say, below 0.92 or 0.95, we will start incurring serious penalties due to poor reactive power factor. So what we do is we connect at our substation end. When we step down the power there and pick it up from the utility, that is where our metering is there. So before, just after the utility meter, we connect our we connect shunt capacitor to correct the power factor and restore it back to unity. So that power factor is also recorded in the meter. So looking at our power factors, then they won't penalize us for bad power factor. This example which I am going to take now will bring out this aspect clearly. How much capacitive shunt reactive power compensation is required to restore power factor to unity? To restore power factor to a unity value, calculate the value of the capacitance, capacitive reactance in ohms. Okay, that's part A. Now suppose that the wire had a resistor, wire had a resistance of 0.1 ohms. Then what is the saving in the losses in percentage due to reactive power compensation? Okay, so first of all, look at this. This extra current which is, I see, my point was, if power factor was connected, was brought, our idea is that we will connect a shunt capacitance in parallel with this RL load and bring the power factor of this current, this current to unity. So right now, without this dotted C, the current which is being drawn by the load is, which is coming from the supply, is IA minus JIR. We just saw, actually it's IA plus JIR, but okay, I'll put the numbers here. What were my numbers? zero point 0.8 minus J 0.6. So the current which was coming here was, in this part here is 0.8 minus J 0.6. Now, if I connect a capacitor here, then the capacitor will, and if the capacitor pulls a current of J 0.6 amperes, then according to KCL, when I sum these two currents here, I'll get the current which is incoming current, which will become exactly equal to 0.8. So therefore, the current which was at 1 ampere would now reduce to 0.6 ampere, 0.8 amperes, which basically means that if that resistance in the wire, which is around 0.1 ohms, very small resistance I have taken so that my original current calculations can be used as an approximation, then you can see that the reduction in the current will cause a reduction in the losses in the wire, and therefore it will improve the efficiency. So, other way of showing the same concept is that I had this R dash and L dash as the equivalent parallel combination of R dash and L dash. I could have shown the load. Now, this draws IA, this draws minus JIR current. Now put a capacitor C dash here so that it draws JIR current, cancelling this particular current. So therefore, the capacitive impedance and the inductive impedance, the omega L dash and the 1 by omega C dash, if they are exactly same, then the then everything will come out perfect. 100% compensation will be there, and what would you be drawing from the wire is only, from the source will be only the active power component of the current, and not at all anything which is the reactive power component of the current. So if this is IA, this is I, and this is IA, and this is the lagging current component, this is the load current component, so let me write it as load. Now what we are trying to do is, we are trying to pick this here, and maybe change the color to dark green, and put some capacitor which will draw a leading current, 90 degrees leading current, which is exactly equal and opposite of which is exactly equal and opposite of IRL, so that the net current which is drawn is only IA of L. So this is our concept and this is what we want to do. When we do that, see this V into minus IR is the VARs, the reactive power consumed by the load. So equal and opposite reactive power will be created here. So the capacitor will act like as if like a source and cancel this reactive power. So therefore, if we had in this case 3 volt ampere was the reactive power component which was inductive in nature, if we just give a shunt capacitive 3 volt amperes capacitive, then the power factor will be restored to unity. So that is the first part of the question. How much capacitive shunt reactive power compensation is required to restore power factor to unity? Now next thing is calculate the value of capacitive reactance in ohms. So I want J.6 current to flow here, and that is nothing but equal to the reciprocal of the impedance, which is j omega c, times the voltage which is applied to it. This is the voltage applied to this is 5 volts. So therefore times of 5 volts. So hence the omega c comes out to be 0.12 ohms, or the capacitive reactance shown by Xc, which is 1 by omega c, will come out to be 8.33 ohms. You could have done it from here also. As I said earlier, you should choose omega c dash to be equal to 1 by omega L dash, but 1 by omega L dash is nothing but omega L by mod of Z square, which is omega L is 3, mod of Z was 5 ohms, so 25. So again it comes out to be 8.33 ohms. So if you do this, then what is happening is that the 3 volt amperes inductive, which is the reactive power consumed by the load, is now equivalently generated or supplied by the shunt capacitor there, restoring the power factor back to unity. And this is very easy to do also. Connecting a shunt component is very straightforward. You are not fiddling with the supply which is coming to your system by putting anything in series. Just connecting something from the terminals to the ground, and no change on metering or anything is required. Very convenient, and we can do it. An alternative also could have been to connect a series capacitor which tries to uh, which which tries to adjust this inductance, but at the distribution system level usually this is not done. What is sometimes in a transmission system series compensation method is used, but I'll not go into the nitty gritties of this. But the convenience of shunt compensation is so much, and it is so easy to do it at 220 volts or 400 volts level, that it is best most best done traditionally as a shunt compensation device. Series compensation, however, will also give you is an alternative way of compensating for the reactive power. When you connect a capacitor in shunt, then it has to be rated. It has to be developed for the rated voltage, which is 220 volts single phase in our case, or 415 volts three phase in the distribution in our case. If you use a series capacitor, then you will have to buy a series capacitor looking at the current rating of the capacitor. So the design aspects will also undergo a change. All right. Uh, Loads usually when should be compensated. I continue to say that loads usually should be compensated by a shunt capacitor. All right. Now, uh, now advantage, and suppose you are a consumer. Okay. Now this is your switch. this is your load. So this is here, your meter would be there, here somewhere would be the meter would be there. Your capacitor, shunt capacitor should be here. It should not be here. Otherwise, what will happen? That when the switch is opened, you will continue, your capacitor will keep on drawing current, which is at poor power factor. What is the power factor of the capacitor? 0, leading. So your power factor would have again got deteriorated, and you would unnecessarily be under no load condition. When there is no load also, you will continue to draw reactive power. So the positioning of the it also should be at the load end is a shunt device connected such that when the load is disconnected, along with it the capacitor is also disconnected. Okay. Now let's see the advantage of the reactive power compensation. So I have taken the value of resistance to be 0.1 ohms. The original load impedance was 4 plus J3, which is 5 ohms. So this is only 2% of the actual load impedance. So since the wire impedance is only 2% of the load impedance, the current really will remain practically the same. See the now the see now the current would be V divided by RL, or I'll write, yeah, okay, RL plus R wire plus JXL. And earlier it was only RL plus JXL. So to that we have just added R wire. So if you take this R plus JXL as Z as common, then the current will become 1 plus R wire by Z, which you can approximate it as 1, no, V by, which you can approximate it as 1 minus R wire by Z. So this R wire by Z, so the current is going to reduce because some extra impedance has come. The current is going to reduce, but it will. Uh, how much will it? How much will it reduce? It will only reduce. This is a complex number. Please note that this is a complex number. But roughly speaking, it will reduce by this, just this small part, 2%. This number is just coming out to be 2% R by R by Z. So therefore, this reduction will be at most 2% or so, so 0.98 of the original value, something like that is what is going to happen. We'll ignore it for our discussion, because I will leave it to you to calculate all the new currents and exact losses. But this back of the envelope calculation which I am going to do here will bring out to you the advantages clearly. Then you can actually put the exact numbers there. So since this wire is resistance, I have taken only 2%. What I am saying is we can approximate the original currents to be also the currents with wire resistance, and therefore uh, if the initially the current I mean when the capacitance is not put, which is called as the precondition here, then the losses in the wire will be the current in the wire, square of the current in the wire times R wire, which is 1 square. The current was 1 ampere, which will become 1 square into 0.1, which is 0.1 watts. Now the current has become 0.8 amperes. The wire resistance has remained the same. So therefore 0.8 will become square will become 0.64 multiplied by 0.1 will become 0.064 watts. So if you look at the percentage saving, the original losses minus the new losses divided by the original losses times of 100, this will come out to be 36%. So because original current will be slightly less than, when the wire is there, the original current will be slightly less than 1 ampere. This number will be slightly less than also slightly less than also the 0.1 value. So the actual gain will not be uh, gain will not be this difference, and the new current also will be slightly less than zero point 0.8 ampere. So therefore, you can sort of say that instead of 36, maybe you will get 34% or so in this particular case. Again, I am asking you to check it, but percentage saving will reduce a bit, but not significantly, will not change significantly from this 36% value. So 36% saving in the losses in this distribution wire is a significant number, especially when you look at the societal scale in which we are consuming powers in hundreds of gigawatts. Then you can imagine that reactive power compensation at the load level is a very important concept, and hence we always have to compensate our loads in such a way to bring them, if not at unity power factor, close to unity power factor. I think we'll stop here with this example. Thank you.